Have you ever had a traumatic experience in your lifetime? Yeah, I know, we all have. Have you had any traumatic experiences? If you have, and yes, I know we all have, watch these videos, watch this video series, and see what I've gone through, and then pay attention to how positive I am, and how happy I am, and where I am in my life. Because after this video series, I'm going to post some videos that are going to show where I'm at in my life right now and what I'm going through right now and why it is so amazing that I'm so grateful even though I'm going through the stuff that I'm going through right now. And then the third series in this multiple video series is going to be the goals I've set for myself and what I'm doing to obtain those goals and my daily routine that helps me shoot for my goals so that I might be able to inspire some other people to dig deep down within themselves and push themselves to be a better person and to achieve a better outcome. No matter what you've gone through and no matter who you are, you can do it. I believe in myself and I believe in you. You can do it. Stick with me through the series. Some of it's negative, but the point is to start out positive, to brush over the negative, and then end with positive to hopefully inspire some people. So all of this is a little fuzzy to me because again, my memory is really messed up from that Ritalin incident, but I was living with the Ritters for a certain period of time and that wasn't working out as well. So I go back to a children's home, and this was the children's home of Wheeling. And I go there and I'm there for a little while, and then the Ritters decide to give it a second chance, the second time, and they bring me out of the children's home. The second time I'm at the Ritters, I'm there for a little while and it's not going so well. I'm now a teenager and my foster dad, because they adopted me, my foster dad doesn't, I'm not measuring up to what his ideal of a boy is. He actually thinks I'm gay because I'm a teenager, I'm like 13, 14 at this time. I just want to talk to girls. To him, he wanted a boy who would be in the garage working on the cars with him. The ironic thing is that later, a few years later, I would have loved to have been doing these things, but at that time my hormones were raging and I just wanted to hang out with girls. And because of this, and because he was old-fashioned and this is the early 90s, he thought I was gay. So it's not working out there, and they call my biological father, who has been in my life a couple times up until this point, but nothing, just pops in and out. So I go to live with him. I'm there for a summer, literally a summer, because I hadn't ended, it was after the school year and before the next school year, and he decides that he's having marital problems and he's going to pass me along too. So he passes me along. He tells me he's going to I have to go back to the home, but he ends up taking me to another aunt's house, a separate aunt who I go to live with. Now my aunt and uncle has two kids, my two cousins. My aunt did her best. However, her husband, my uncle, he was a very mean and ignorant person, very racist, he's a very bad guy, and it was made all the worse by the fact that he had diabetes and ate whatever he wanted, so he was slowly losing his right leg, toe, foot, then leg. So he became more violent, and he actually was physically abusive to me while I was there. Eventually my aunt sees that I need to be taken out of the home, and she calls the social worker. The social worker comes, picks me up, takes me back to the children's home of Wheeling for a second time. So by this point, I've been passed around. I've been in a couple homes, and now I'm on my second round at the children's home of Wheeling. I'm there for a few years at this point. I think about almost 3 years. And my dad, my biological father, shows up again to sign me out of the home. So I go to live with him again. At this point, I'm fed up with life, and now I'm smoking weed, and I just don't care anymore. So while I'm living with my biological father, he is a busy man. He's always working. He's actually attending college and doing things for himself. But on top of that, even when he was home, he didn't really have any time with me. He didn't have any time for me. He was on his computer playing video games or chatting with girls on online dating sites. He had zero time for me. I did my own thing. And at 17 years old, I decided I'm gonna rob a store. Not a gunpoint or anything. I actually broke in after hours and I robbed the local store directly across the street from my house. Obviously, that's a story all in itself, but I get caught. And at that point, my biological father cleans his hands of me as well and sends me back to a home. So I'm now in a home called Salem House, waiting for my court date for robbing the store. At court, I get sentenced to 6 months in Georgia Junior detention center. That is, and by the way, while I was at Salem House, I had run away and got caught, and they put me in another detention center, but I was only there for 24 hours. So that's not, that's just one more place I was at, is why I'm stopping to touch back on that. So I get sent to Georgia Junior. And while I'm at Georgia Junior for 6 months, turns into 11 months, which is crazy all by itself because I was sentenced by the court for 6 months. But it's a program and you have to pass certain levels to get out. And I did it faster. I did it in record time. And that was told to me by many people there, many staff members there. Like, I had moved through the system so quickly, it was ridiculous. And it took me 11 months to get out of a 6-month program. So I get out of Georgia Junior. I'm now 18 years old in 1 month. They kept me past my 18th birthday. I don't even know how that's legal, but they were able to do so. And I get out, and now I really don't care. I'm actually back living with my biological father. He pops up again, and never for long, by the way. Always brief periods of times that he pops up in my life. So he was never trying to do something good for me. He was trying to make himself feel better as a parent. I know that now, and I have no resentment towards him for that. It's only natural. So I get out. I'm living with him. I get a job. I'm trying to do my best to start my life. I haven't had any upbringing at this point. I've been bouncing around from home to home to home, and I'm doing a lot of partying as well, drinking, and I dabbled, but I had never gotten addicted to drugs like a lot of my other friends were doing at the time. However, I did feel like I always needed to be high on weed because it made me feel better. So just to kind of brush through the end of this, I meet a girl, get her pregnant, I have a kid. She's crazy and actually sleeping around a lot, which is why we ended up separating. I had gotten in trouble because she was having boys come over to her house, and she was supposed to be being a mom, but she was more interested in sleeping around on me. It even happened while she was pregnant with our second kid. My cousin had to call me and say that she was at a party and took a boy into the bathroom while she was pregnant with my second kid. So I pretty much decided at that point that I couldn't even look at her the same anymore, and I moved on from that relationship. However, she wasn't ready to let go, so she was continually trying to get me in trouble and in fights with even some of my friends. So I had decided I needed a change of environment. And because my grandmother had passed away recently, and my brother, who is on my adopted family, these are not blood relatives. My adopted grandmother passed away, and my adopted brother came up from Florida. So when my adopted brother came up for the funeral, he actually invited me to come live with him in Florida if I ever wanted to. And there's a lot more to this story. Obviously, there's a lot more to a lot of the points in this story, but again, this is a brush through because I don't want to focus on the negative. I just want to give you guys an idea of how many struggles that I came through and endured and came out the other side, and why I'm so grateful for those negative things that happened. So to get a change of atmosphere from my first baby mom, who was constantly trying to get me put in jail and constantly trying to get me in fights because she was young and immature, but she's also not a good person either. And I don't say that to be negative about her. I just say it because that is, through my experience, a fact. So I go to live in Florida with my adopted brother. And unfortunately, when I get there, I find out that he's a crackhead and not a good person either. We had always looked up to him when we were younger, but he is not a good person. He was a crackhead, stealing money out of his wife's purse and then blaming me the next day. When I saw him take the money, I tried to stop him. But the very next day, he calls me into the room and asks me in front of his wife, my sister-in-law, who I love to this day, even though they're divorced, to this day I have great love for her, asked me if I took the money out of her purse. That type of bad person, crackhead type stuff. So after a few months of being in Florida, they lose their home because he's unwilling to work. He's too busy smoking crack and sleep until 4 in the afternoon to work. So we lose our place. They go and live with a friend, and I end up homeless. All right, so that wraps up part 2 of this video series. I know we had some negative things going on in that video, but please stick with me because we're gonna get to the positive side of this. Any value you found in this video, always leave me a like, subscribe to my channel for the support. I appreciate any support you give me. And if you have any questions or comments on anything that I brushed over, feel free to leave a comment below and I will get back to you. And share this video. Maybe somebody will find value in this video and might be going through a dark time, and they can be like, hey, wow, I relate to that. This dude went through a dark time and he seems pretty positive. So, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and stick with me so we can get through the other side to the positive stuff.